Hi, I'm Dan Gable, and this is another episode of Big Agent in a Small Town. And this week, we're going to go through an overview of the insurance coverages that are important for excavation contractors. So we'll go through a broad overview. There are a couple in particular I want to point out that I feel like are particularly important for excavation contractors. The first coverage kind of we always go to with contractors is general liability. These would be claims brought against you for or claims of bodily injury or property damage due to your negligence. One thing I recommend as well too, especially if you're doing commercial work, or a lot of times you're going to have specific insurance requirements in your contract for that work. Always have your agent look over those, make sure that you've got the right coverage or getting you the right certificate of insurance. So one, you have the right coverage for the job, and two, that you don't have any potential payment issues when the job is complete because you didn't have the correct insurance requirements per the contract. So that's something really important on the general liability end. Next is commercial auto. And obviously that's going to be liability coverage for trucks or trailers used in the business, and then also comprehensive and collision coverage if you want as well too. But I go back to the liability on the auto being a big thing for excavation contractors, especially because as other excavation contractors have really heavy trucks and trailers. Obviously, there are times where you're hauling around on large equipment, and so there's a pretty good commercial auto exposure due to the size of trucks and trailers that you're using there. So we'll make sure that you have adequate limits on your auto liability due to that exposure, and again, and the contractual requirements as well too with doing any commercial work. Next would be property and business personal property coverage, and this would be, especially if you have an office or a storage building for the business, this is where that coverage would come in. Next is probably one of, not the most important coverage for an excavation contractor, and that's inland marine coverage, and that's what's going to cover your equipment, which is obviously the price of some of the large equipment, especially in this day and age, with where or things are or price wise on equipment, is probably your biggest asset in your company, and so that inland marine coverage is really important for that. And inland marine means that it's going to cover it while it's stored at your facility and transit to a job site, at a job site. So that's why the inland marine coverage is very important on it. Another thing to consider on an especially large and expensive piece of equipment that would be hard to borrow, or if you did have a claim where it was damaged, there are companies that do offer loss of business income or rental coverage to rent a similar piece of equipment while yours is being repaired if it's involved in a claim. So that's a coverage on the inland marine I really recommend looking into as well. Another consideration is cyber coverage. And you might think first off that you don't have a big exposure there. But the first thing is, if you're doing a lot of payments on that, either online or by wire transfer or others, definitely a cyber exposure there. There's also a network liability exposure too, if you have commercial customers who would have databases that could be hacked if someone hacked your database first and was able to get there. So you definitely want to consider cyber coverage as well too. Next is workers' comp, which again is a really important coverage. If you have anyone who's working for you at all, by law you have to have workers' comp, and then even on top of that, it's just to protect yourself as a business owner. If someone gets injured on the job, it's really important to have that coverage there. And then last is umbrella liability. And what the umbrella does is it goes over and provides an extra liability limit over your general liability, your auto liability, and your employer's liability on your workers' comp. I really recommend looking into umbrella coverage as an excavator, or just obviously operating and hauling large equipment that if you have a claim, and there's a possibility that can be a large one. So that umbrella liability is important there, and also more and more with commercial work, more and more companies are requiring you to have an umbrella policy as well to provide those extra liability limits. So that was a quick overview of insurance for excavation contractors. If you're starting a new excavation business or would like to review your current coverage, please reach out to me by phone or text at 217-932-2267 or by email to Dan, D-A-N, at shoremurphycasey, SHOREMURPHYCASEY.com. Please like this video and subscribe to our Shore Murphy and Associates Casey YouTube channel. Thank you.